DC The Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles. What's going on with y'all, man? Make sure y'all donate to the channel's Cash App and PayPal if you're feeling generous. Mess with our sponsor, PAX Los Angeles, and visit their online store linked in the description of this video for the gas, edibles, vapes, merch, etc., man. Shout out to Hayden for that bread on Cash App, and shout out to Ann for the super things, man. Big fans right there. Now today, the state has finally gone through with its first hat of the year, with the fourth nitrogen gas execution last night of Mr. Demetrius Frazier. Let's hop right into his last days right now. An Alabama death row inmate was executed tonight for the 1991 slaying of a woman in her Birmingham apartment, who he admitted to unaliving after he got tired of hearing her beg for her life. Demetrius Terrence Frazier was executed at William C. Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore. The 52-year-old was put to death by inhaling pure nitrogen gas through a gas mask. He is the fourth inmate in Alabama and the country to be executed using that method. It's Alabama's first execution for 2025 after having led the nation in 2024 with 6 executions by either lethal injection or nitrogen gas. Alabama Governor Co.AgMusic issued a statement saying Frazier's official time of death was 6:36 p.m. Quote, "In Alabama, we enforce the law," Abe said in a press conference. "You don't come to our state and mess with our citizens and get away with it. Rapists, murderers are not welcome on our streets. And tonight, justice was carried out for Pauline Brown and her loved ones. I pray for her family that all of these years later, they can continue healing and have assurance that Demetrius Frazier cannot harm anyone else." Unquote. The curtain over the viewing window into the execution chamber opened at 6:05 p.m. and after the prison warden read Frazier's death warrant, Frazier gave a last statement. Quote, "First of all, I want to apologize to the friends and family of Pauline Brown and the black community," he said. Quote, "What happened to Pauline Brown should have never happened." Frazier also said members of the media should contact a former detective at the Detroit Police Department to ask about a false confession he made regarding the killing of a 14-year-old there in 1992. Quote, "Detroit strong. I love everybody on death row," he said. Frazier's final words were, quote, "Let's go." After his last words, a guard in the execution chamber checked the seal on the gas mask. At about 6:11 p.m., Frazier started waving his hands in circles towards his body. About a minute later, his hands stopped moving. At approximately 6:12 p.m., Frazier clenched his face and his nostrils flared, while his hands quivered. He appeared to say something, which was inaudible to the 3 witness rooms. His legs slightly lifted up off the gurney and he gasped for air. Then his head rolled to the right side. Frazier exhibited sporadic gasping and shallow breathing until about 6:20 p.m. The curtains closed at 6:29 p.m. and his time of death declared 7 minutes after 6:36 p.m. Though Frazier's execution was punishment for the 91 slaying of Pauline Brown, he was also serving a life sentence in Michigan for the 92 slaying of a teenager. He was brought to Alabama to await execution in 2011. Frazier's lawyers were hoping that before Frazier was escorted into the execution chamber, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer would ask Alabama to halt the execution and send the inmate back north. That didn't happen. Frazier said while strapped to the gurney in the execution chamber about Michigan Governor Whitmer, quote, "If you can't stand up for the Michigan Constitution, how can you stand up for the United States Constitution?" Unquote. He made the statement assuming she will one day run for president. Following the execution, Alabama Department of Corrections Commissioner John Hamm spoke to members of the media gathered at a building down the street from Holman Prison. He said that the nitrogen flowed for 18 minutes, starting at 6:13 p.m. It flowed 5 minutes past Frazier's flat line. When asked about 8 minutes of movement after the gas started to flow, Hamm said he believed Frazier lost consciousness when his hands and wrists stopped moving, and those breaths were, quote, "involuntary movements." "All people are different," Hamm said, and each of the 4 inmates so far executed in Alabama using nitrogen have behaved differently under the gas. Frazier showed less movement than others, he said. Prior to being transferred to the Yellowhammer State in 2011, Frazier was serving multiple life sentences in Michigan for sex crimes and the murder of a 14-year-old girl. Frazier's lawyers argued that his transfer to Alabama death row was illegal and he should have been serving his life sentences up north. While that battle is no longer being waged in court, Frazier was hoping the Michigan governor would step in. But the Detroit News reported that Whitmer said this afternoon that it was out of her hands. Frazier's lawsuit over the Michigan transfer was dismissed, and his other legal moves that sought to have a judge either call off the execution or order the Alabama Department of Corrections to administer a sedative before turning on the nitrogen gas was denied last week. His lawyers didn't appeal that decision. It was during the investigation of the 14-year-old girl's murder in Detroit that Frazier admitted to Brown's shooting in Birmingham. In 1996, when Frazier stood trial in Jefferson County Courtroom, his then lawyers said the Alabama slaying might never have been solved without Frazier's confession. Behavior. Frazier's erratic behavior during his 96 trial in Birmingham consisted of throwing things, cursing his jury, spewing claims of racism, and accusing his own attorneys of being undercover prosecutors before also threatening them. In court records, Frazier's former lawyer said before his 96 trial that he, quote, had several incidents of uncontrollable violent behavior, which may indicate the onset of some mental disease or disorder, unquote, and that Frazier had, quote, become very difficult to communicate with. The judge denied the lawyers asked to have a mental evaluation before trial. On the second day of the trial during the summer of 96, according to court records, Frazier refused to wear a leg brace, which was concealed under his pants and designed to limit any quick movements in case he became violent. When the judge asked him why he was refusing the leg brace, Frazier was silent. Quote, well, I'm going to give you a choice. You can either wear the leg brace or you can wear the shackles and handcuffs. Obviously, sitting there with shackles and handcuffs is not going to impress the jury very much. In fact, it would prejudice your case, said former Jefferson County Circuit Judge Mike McCormick, according to trial transcripts. Quote, I don't want to do that. In fact, I've never done that in 15 years I've been on the bench. And most people understand that it hurts their case to do that. It's an unreasonable position to take. Do you have anything to say? Frazier didn't respond to the judge nor his attorneys for a while. Eventually, he said, quote, don't make me no difference. Go on with it. Do what you got to do. I don't care. Don't make me no difference. I don't want to be in the courtroom for my hearing. When his lawyer attempted to intervene, Frazier said, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be in this courtroom either. He asked to be put in the hole at the county jail and said he didn't trust his legal team. Quote, plus, I got all these white jury. I got 10 white jurors and 4 black jurors. I don't even want to sit in trial with them. I don't trust that jury. I don't trust the lawyers either. I think they're with the prosecutors. And I don't see how I'm going to get a fair trial with them white jurors up there with you. We in Birmingham right now. This city here is majority black, and I got 10 motherfucking white jurors, a white jury. He continued asking to be put in the jail. Quote, because right now I'm mad. I'm real mad right now. I'm real mad. There ain't no telling what I might do when I get back. I'm giving you a warning. I'm just letting you know. Like I said, I'm really mad right now. I might slap the shit out of my attorney right here. He admitted guilt multiple times to Brown's slaying during that talk with the judge, transcripts show. When the jury was finally brought into the courtroom, Frazier threw an ink pen at the jury and narrowly missed the juror. Quote, shut the fuck up. That jury right there is racist, man. That jury is racist. Look at him. Look at that guy looking at me. That jury is racist, man. Unquote. Frazier's lawyers had previously asked a federal judge to order he be brought back to Michigan to finish serving his life sentences there. But after the Michigan prison system said they didn't want Frazier back, the lawyers dropped the case. In 1995, Michigan authorities brought Frazier to Alabama where he was tried for Brown's killing, found guilty and sentenced to death. The Michigan authorities then brought him back north where he was in prison. In 2011, then Governor Robert Bentley of Alabama and Rick Snyder of Michigan created an executive agreement to transfer Frazier to Alabama, according to documents signed by the governors. In a lawsuit, Frazier's lawyers from the Federal Defender's Office argued his Michigan life sentences had not been commuted and he had not been pardoned. And the northern state's law, according to the lawyers, that an inmate like Frazier, quote, shall not be eligible for custodial incarceration outside a state correctional facility or a county jail, unquote. Quote, while Michigan takes no position on the imposition of the death penalty in this case, Michigan does not seek to return Frazier to a Michigan correctional facility, a court filing from a Michigan Department of Corrections lawyer read. Frazier cannot make the state take him back into custody, Michigan's filing said. The inmate's question about the state's custody, said Michigan's lawyers, is one for the state court and not federal. And they added the executive agreement between Bentley and Steiner, quote, boils down to a priority of custody matter between sovereign states. It's called Frazier's claim a far-fetched argument and decades too late. The Alabama Attorney General's office agreed, writing the lawsuit was, quote, a blatant misuse of this court to stop his execution and called the inmate a, quote, sexual predator. The only conclusion the state can draw is that this is yet another attempt to sandbag the state of Alabama with meritless litigation in an attempt to stop an execution. While the Michigan argument is no longer being fought in a courtroom, Frazier's lawyers still hope Waegner would intervene, quote, you have the absolute authority to demand Mr. Frazier's return, the federal defender's office lawyers wrote in a letter to Waegner. It's the second request they made of the northern governor. The first was met with a response from staff indicating the governor wouldn't act at that time. Death penalty action and advocacy group opposed to capital punishment prompted its members to reach out to Waegner and ask her to act on Wednesday. Quote, last week, I spent hours in the lobby of the Romney building with Carol Frazier, Demetrius Frazier's mother, and Governor Whitmer's staff did not have the decency to come down the elevator to look this woman in her eye and take her handwritten letter. Quote, Abraham Bonowitz, executive director of death penalty action, said in a press release, quote, if Governor Whitmer is going to ignore a mother from Detroit begging for the life of her child while also ignoring more than 180 years of Michigan history, she owes the people an explanation. But it's not too late to act, and that's why we're taking one more shot at waking her up to this matter. The nitrogen lawsuit. Frazier's lawyers have been challenging the state's nitrogen gas protocol and asking a judge to either call off the execution for now or instruct the state to give Frazier a sedative prior to the gas being pumped through the gas mask. Specifically, lawyers asked for 500 milligrams of midazolam, the first drug in the state's lethal injection 3-drug cocktail. Quote, what we're talking about here isn't medical, it's execution, said attorney Spencer Hahn during a federal court hearing in Montgomery last month. Quote, let's use part of the lethal injection protocol and import it to the nitrogen protocol. Quote, they're remaining conscious longer than the state's medical experts said they would, unquote, said Hahn about the 3 inmates before who have been executed in Alabama using nitrogen gas. The Alabama Attorney General's office expert anesthesiologist who works in Los Angeles said a person who undergoes a nitrogen execution like Alabama's would lose consciousness in under a minute. The facts on the ground don't support that, Hahn said. Something is going wrong. It's not working that way. But the United States Chief District Judge Emily Marks declined to stop the execution and sided with the state. Frazier's lawyers did not appeal the denial to the United States 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. In a move to spare Frazier's life, his lawyers asked Governor Co.AgMusic for clemency last week. The petition, signed by attorney Matt Schultz, sought the governor to halt the execution and either commute Frazier's sentence to life without parole or send him back to Michigan. On Thursday, a spokesperson for AgMusic said she hadn't been in contact with the Michigan governor's office. In the letter, Schultz wrote that Frazier was born to a teenage mother who wasn't prepared to raise a child, and that Frazier's mental development was behind other children his age. The family moved often and frequently lived in dangerous and impoverished neighborhoods, and Frazier witnessed violence and criminal activity from an early age. Attached to the clemency petition were letters from several of Frazier's family members. His mother, Carol Frazier, wrote that she loves her son and is devastated for Brown's family. Quote, I know that the crime he committed was terrible, she wrote, and I know another mother also lost her daughter. Quote, I know we can't bring that woman back. Her letter and Frazier's sister's letters said that he has expressed remorse for the slaying. They each asked AgMusic to send Frazier back to Michigan to serve his life sentence. Frazier was the 4th Alabama inmate to be executed by nitrogen gas. 3 Alabama inmates were put to death in 2024 using nitrogen gas. So far, Alabama is the only state in the country to roll out nitrogen execution. Last day. On Wednesday, Frazier was visited by his mother and sister, according to an Alabama Department of Corrections spokesperson. He refused his breakfast tray, which consisted of scrambled eggs, grits, biscuits, strawberry jelly, and orange Kool-Aid. He took a phone call from his wife. Damn, bro, married. On Thursday, he was visited by a friend. His mother, his sister, a lawyer, his wife, the chaplain, and an investigator. He refused his breakfast, lunch, and dinner tray. His final meal was a beefy 5-layer burrito, a chicken chalupa supreme, beef crunchy nachos, chips and dip, and a Mountain Dew. And there y'all have it, man. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section, man. Crazy one. Co.AgMusic with yet another hat, man. Condolences again, right, to the victims and the families on Mr. Frazier's case, as well as condolences to Mr. Frazier's loved ones and his friends as well. Taco Bell's a hell of a last wheel, man. That last outburst when the gas starts flowing had to be him crying out in pain, probably from not eating that shit in 30 years, man. The beefy 5-layer alone will do you in, do you hear me? I do like that he apologized to the black community as well, you know, for the foolishness. Nice touch. Denying it to the end, though, talking about contact the detective about his false confession, man. Them people ain't trying to hear that shit, man. Now, to scrutinize the method, man, the gas flowed for about 10 minutes, right, after he done stopped breathing, and 20 minutes, man, they said, while his body convulsed, you know what I'm saying? A recurring event with these controversial new execution methods, man. The department's always saying it's expected to be and normal, but I'll let y'all be the judge of it, man. There will be some involuntary movement. That's some bullshit, man. Also, they said his motion for a sedative was denied. What the hell is wrong with giving these folks a sedative before they go see the king if this shit's supposed to be painless like falling asleep, right? I ask again, what's wrong with his mental health evaluation? What was wrong with him getting a mental health evaluation way back then when trial was going on, man? Must be afraid that the damn state is going to lose their opportunity to participate in government systematic murder, huh? I don't know, man. Also, once again, that damn lateness argument of his appeals by the Supreme Court is some bullshit to me when a man's literal life is on the line. I don't give a damn if he filed the appeal 20 minutes before the execution, man. Also, shame on the governor's office of Michigan, man. Y'all know y'all ain't gonna stop that man's execution because y'all abolished the damn death penalty in y'all state in the 1800s, right? Y'all ain't gonna damn stop that man's execution. Least y'all could do would be to at least receive the plea from the man's mother before y'all throw the shit in the trash can, man. In regards to the nitrogen gas execution method, if motherfuckers are supposed to lose consciousness after 60 seconds, why are damn near all of them uttered some type of inaudible statement well after that? Is that also an involuntary movement? You know what I'm saying? I don't think Co.AgMusic would give clemency to her own family members, man. Meemaw is that ruthless on my homie. That death was the last ditch effort they did to contact her. Like, these people ain't from here. They don't. Then the biggest waste of paper throughout his whole appeals process on my homie, man. But anyways, y'all like, sub, share, donate to the channel's Cash App and PayPal if you're a real motherfucker and if you're feeling generous. Mess with the sponsor, PAX Los Angeles, in the description. DC The Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles, up the gate.